Hey everyone, this is David Pike, Motorcity Mechanic. Today's video is on a 2015 Chrysler 200. I'm going to show you step by step how to check the transmission fluid in the 9-speed transmission this has. So in order to check the transmission fluid on this Chrysler 200, we're going to need a couple things. One is we're going to need a special tool. I want to show you what the special tool is and what the number is and approximately how much it costs. Other thing we need to do, we need to know what the trans temp is. And I'm going to show you a way to find out what the trans temp is without having to use a scanner. And based off of what the level is on that special tool and also what the trans temp is, what we find, there's a graph that we're going to go to. And we're going to see where on that graph we are and if we need to add fluid, take away fluid, or if we're good to go. The best way that I've found to check the fluid on 9-speed is go ahead and take the driver's side tire off. With the tire off, I'm going to go ahead and unbolt the driver's side outer tie rod end. It's not in there tight. Once you get the nut off, it almost basically comes off. And what I can do, I can pick it up and swing it to the side. Then I can get access in here where the tie rod goes towards the rack and pinion to get to the back side of the transmission to the fill plug, which we're also going to be using to check the level with. Now I've already unbolted the tie rod in. Just taking the nut off now. Lift it straight up, to the side and down. Now I've got this cavity right in here to get to. Now it's still going to be kind of snug and tight, but to me it's the best way to gain access other than from up top. Now, like I said, tie rod's out of the way. Here's that open cavity and we go further up in here. I've already backed it out. That's actually the Allen-headed bolt that you take out of the top of that transmission at the back end, so that you can get access to either filling it with fluid or checking the level. Now I use a 6mm Allen head socket to get down in there and back it all the way out, and then I can actually insert my tool. But that's where you can get to it. Like I said, I'm showing the light up here so you can see it. And here's a special tool we're going to be using to check the fluid in this 9-speed. The MLR stands for Miller. It's Miller Tools that makes this. 10323A. It's 10323, A as an alpha. Now, as you rotate it around, you actually see numbers. We get 10, 20, 30, we work our way up. That's what we're going to be checking the fluid level with. We'll stick it into the back of the transmission. Depending on where the fluid level comes up is what we're going to be looking at the graph for. We want it to be there's a range. You want it to fall about midway in that range. So we'll see if we need to add fluid, take away fluid, or leave the fluid alone. Alright, so we're going to back out that 6mm recessed Allen head bolt. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your tool, just going to insert it into the hole and let it bottom out. Bottoms out on the top of the case. Then you'll pull it out and you'll read what the mark is. Now, this transmission's out of the vehicle. Imagine in the vehicle, you're coming through this area over here on the driver's side. You're trying to make it go through. You got a brake booster somewhat in the way. You're kind of making it work. Get it down in there, taking it up and getting it out to read it. So that's basically the procedure you're using if you go through the fender well opening like I showed you. Now, with my stick pulled back out and the sample I took, it's kind of hard to see. You have to look real close with my fingers pointing. You'll see where it's shiny and not shiny. Just because the metal itself reflects a lot of light, but you can see where there's a shine and then there's no shine right there in that location. That number is actually 25. Now, as we already know, we need two things in order to get the correct level on the trans fluid. We need to know the level on the test stick, and we also need to know what the trans temp is. So you go, well, I don't have a scanner. How am I going to know what the trans temp is? Well, there's actually a good way for you to find out. The cluster on these vehicles has a lot of information. Everything from oil temp, coolant temp. They actually have trans temp. So we're actually going to go over to the cluster, and I'll show you how to scroll through the menu, find out what the trans temp is. Now what we're going to use the menu in the center of the cluster. This one's set on speedometer right now. We're going to go down till we get down to the vehicle info. Here we are, number 2. And as you can see, you can go left and right. We're going to scroll till we find out the trans temp. Battery voltage, tires, we got coolant, trans temp, 154. So now we got a way of telling what a trans temp is. We know what the level is on the stick. Now we'll put it up against the chart and see if the level is going to be correct, if we need to add or subtract fluid. And this is the graph you're going to be using to make sure your fluid level's right. If you look on the bottom where it says temperature from left to right, That's what the temperature of the transmission is that we're seeing on the dash cluster. That's what we're going to be using. And the numbers on the left going from bottom to top are the actual levels on the test stick we're using. So we know at 154 on trans temp, we're going to find it on the graph and we're going to go up. Now we want to stay around the red line. The red line's the middle, basically. It's not too high, not too low. No min, no max, it's nominal. So if we do that, we come up to approximately a 23 mark. So 23 is about where we need to be. So now we check what the fluid level is in the vehicle. We needed to be around 23 based off of the 154 degree trans fluid. So being 25, we're pretty much right on the money. So at this point, we don't need to add any fluid and we don't need to take any fluid away. So that's how you have to check that. Alright, so this is actual fluid if you do need to add some. Now the part number is 68, 21, 89, 25, AA as an alpha alpha. Now this stuff isn't too cheap. It's approximately online an average of about $30 plus per quart. Now that's 1 quart. So hopefully you don't have to add too much, or if you've done a service of any kind, you're going to be looking at $30 plus a quart minimum. Dealer list is approximately $42, $45. So there you go, that's your part number. You can pick it up at your local Dodge dealer. They should have plenty in stock. So there you have it. Now you know what it takes to check the trans fluid on a 9-speed transmission in that Chrysler 200. You're going to need a special tool. You need the chart. I've given you both the number for that and the chart as well as the fluid. So make sure you follow the steps and you shouldn't have any problems. Now getting the fluid in is a little tricky. I use a pump with a hose. That's my best way of getting it in there. So just get your fluid where you need and everything should go fine. So at this point, I ask for any kind of thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and you can check me out on Instagram as well. If you got any kind of comments or suggestions, please feel free to email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com and I'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. In the meantime, thanks for watching these videos.